Morning, guys. So we rounded everybody up, got everybody here. That's good. So we are looking at HB 71. So I'd like to call the work session to order. And we heard quite a bit of testimony on this bill yesterday, which I found helpful. Just as a reminder, there are two components to it. Part one, which increases the prima facie presumption of cancer, disease in firefighters to all kinds of cancer. And then the second, to set up a commission to study the implementation of optional annual cancer screenings. I'll start the conversation this morning by just saying I've had a few conversations since yesterday, particularly about the study commission. And there is some concern with the fact that we're going to need to find 8 legislators to serve on that, and how effective the commission will be if we have to have that many of us on there and not other experts. And it should be studied, but is it better left studied to other groups of people? So I'll just throw that out there and then allow conversation to ensue. Peter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. First of all, my apologies to everyone. I somehow, when I was in the Marine Corps many years ago, decades ago, the whole company would be out there falling out for inspection. Wouldn't be the whole company. There will all be a couple of people staggering out of the barracks door going like, what's going on? Oh, we're here out for inspection. Oh, I didn't get the word. Well, I didn't get the word either about yesterday, so I wasn't here. My apologies, but I do have a question.
Sure.
And that is, remind me again that you mentioned 8 members of the legislature on this study committee. How many of them are proposed to be from the Senate?
2.
2. So typically, as some of us have experienced in the past, the Senate looks at any number that's not 1 and says we're going to convert 2 or 3 into 1 senator because they don't have the troops to have a full contingent that the House will or the sponsor will set up. So, but this is it everyone else's opinion that 6 House members seems like a lot?
It's a lot, and the concern is that it's just not really going to happen.
Exactly, because
and nobody's questioning the importance of the study itself, or that we don't need the information.
That is not my issue either.
Yeah, I understand why they want to do it, and I'm actually somewhat in support of why they want to do it. It's just a matter of whether or not this is a legislative responsibility, or if there is a better avenue to do that.
Is there any thought among the subcommittee that we should perhaps reduce the number of House members from 6 to 3, the typical number of House members that are on a study committee?
So it's not a committee, it's a commission.
Well,
and so the problem is according to statute, we need to be in the majority on the committee. And so to get the 7 other people that they would like on it, to get, the kind of breadth of representation that they want, we'd have to have 8 legislators. If we reduce us, we'll have to reduce them as well. And then you really start running into, do you have the people on it that you need?
I take your point entirely. Thank you.
So that's one section that I would like to see section 1 go through regardless. I think it's reasonable, which is the prima facie presumption that cancer disease is caused by the occupational hazard. I'm pretty much okay with that. I don't know other people's feelings on it. Chris? Yeah, I'm expecting you to say something.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The commission aside, we're talking about section 1.
Yes.
Ruminating over it last night, and some of the and trying to compare that with some of the testimony we heard yesterday. oddly enough, I still do have a problem with saying that it shall just be assumed that all cancers in the world will be workman's comp related.
So once again, for clarification on that, because I don't think that's quite the position. If it's reasonable when all of the other considerations are taken into account of life habits and all of the other things that they take into consideration, the evidence doesn't strongly point one way or the other. And it's in those finely defined cases where they're not, it could be occupational, it could not be occupational. The presumption is just that it's in favor of the firefighter and not in the favor of the insurance company, essentially the workman's comp company. So it's not open. It's open to any form of cancer, but you would still have to make a good case about how that would be related. Yeah, Representative Gerhard.
Thank you, Chairman. The only thing I'm concerned about is kind of creating a moral hazard situation where the government's subsidizing the effect of using cancer-causing materials. If there was actually a cost associated with using these, which is really people's lives, instead of just paying them basically blood money to use this stuff, wouldn't it kind of be important to encourage the creation of something else? Do you know what I'm trying to get at? Does
Yeah,
that make any sense? So that's what I'm kind of dealing with.
I think that everybody agrees with you, and there's been a lot of conversation about that. Obviously, we're learning new things, and so we need to come up with new solutions. So we didn't realize they were cancer-causing outfits. now we're starting to question whether they are. They seem to be, and so we're limiting the use of them. But we don't have a solution to that problem, and we can't come up with a solution to that problem like today. So knowing that we've put them in this position, I guess the question is, what's the right thing to do knowing that we've put them in this position? Because, they've been wearing these suits right along. And so if they're causing people to have more kinds of cancer, those things are going to pop up. And how do we handle the fact that they're popping up? We can't retroactively keep them from wearing the suits.
Understood, but what's to keep this from happening in the future, in a sense? There's just the hope that eventually somebody will say, okay, I feel bad about the situation occurring, I'm going to change, or do you know what I'm trying to get at? That's what I'm just...
Sure.
So that's the only...
I think the only information that we have on that is that they are trying to minimize the amount that they're wearing the suits. For example, they do go into detox when they get back, which didn't used to be the case. I would assume that we as legislators have potentially a responsibility to look into it and maybe take action in the future. But once again, I'm not sure that directly overlaps with whether or not we give them the presumption of cancer now. We can always take away the presumption of cancer later if enough of this has been mitigated, but I doubt that would happen. But I think that's what we're giving consideration to, if that's helpful. Peter.
Thank you. So, several years ago, we had a bill about these firefighting foams, which were standard especially in aviation-related fires, which are of a very different nature in many cases than the standard building fire. And it was discovered that these foams were loaded with one of the PFAS type chemicals. And in the meantime, that particular type of foam has been done away with. And they still have some firefighting foams, but they are much less laced with very dangerous chemicals. And we were told at the time that one of the graduation celebrations for firefighters finishing their training was to get doused with that chemical, the firefighting foam. And even that sometimes in the schools, they would be playing, the kids would play around with the stuff and were exposed to it because it's a lot of fun. And maybe there are other things that are cancer causing that are fun. I've not done any experimentation, nor do I intend to. But the thing is, there was a lot of money. There was a lot of money that was spent in developing new firefighting foams. Now, most fire departments do not use that stuff because it's primarily designed for aviation fires, which are, you're dealing with lots and lots of jet fuel, which is very flammable and very dangerous, and there's a lot of it. So that you need some kind of foam to fight them effectively. So in this particular instance, if these guys are suited up in outfits which they need to survive in that particular instance, you can't walk in without being fully suited up and having breathing apparatus, all that other kind of stuff. So to the degree that they have to wear that or they're going to die on the spot in that fire, then we are expecting them to do something which is extremely hazardous and which almost certainly will produce some kind of negative effect later on. I think if you're going to pay the price, you get to go to the dance. So that's not going to deter me from supporting this expansion or extension of the coverage. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, any other thoughts on section 1? Okay, I will, yes, oh, sorry, go ahead, Representative Chair.
And I apologize. I apologize to the subcommittee, but
Not at all.
here I go again. And I've discussed this not in, with other people and explained. I realized that in testimony we heard that the cost of this is probably going to be minimal because there won't be that many cases of cancer coming in to workman's comp, new cases. That's going to drive the cost to the cities and towns a high amount. But that's just a guess. Nobody knows what it's going to cost, or if it would be inconsequential or substantial. It's just not known. But saying that it is just assumed that cancer will be work-related, as it states. In addition to the ones that are already, that we got in the handout listed as these are workman's comp cases, if this type of cancer develops. And we were given the example of, I think it was testicular cancer, where that's not covered. And I don't remember if it was not proven that it was work-related or it was disproven that it was.
It was disproven, I believe, correct,
However,
Brian? I was just asking for clarification. Mr. Rilla's in the back saying, I'm good at the moment. Yeah, I just wanted clarification on that point.
so if we pass section 1, that testicular cancer would be presumed to be work-related.
Right. Just for clarification, Mr. Rill, is testicular cancer on the list or it's not? Yes. So it would have been presumed. It would have been presumed to be work-related. It was found not to be work-related, so they denied the claim. So this was a situation where that is on the list. Testicular cancer is presumed to be work-related unless otherwise proven. And they proved that it wasn't. That was the point of that part of the testimony, I believe, to show that just because it's presumed doesn't mean that they'll get the claim.
Point well taken.
Yep. All right. Section 2. Sorry, this is a little tricky because we're basically dealing with 2 different bills in the same bill, and we're going to have to sort that out. Any other comments on section 2? Yes.
I got up early today.
I like it. You're hopping. We got about 15 minutes here before we got to be out of the room, just so everybody knows. Maybe 20.
I don't see any reason why this information could not be gotten without a commission. Needed information, people can get together and get that information compiled. I just think a commission is not needed. Yes.
Anybody else?
I think I mentioned the other day when we were talking about this, the Wi-Fi and Cellular Radiation Commission that was conducted in 2020. They put out a report, said this stuff is really bad. We need 1,500-foot setbacks, and nothing's ever happened since. So I don't really know if you need representatives on a board like that just to have nothing happen. There's the people who know the material already know the material, and it's simply a matter of presentation. I think that's the whole concept. So, yeah, I don't really see the benefit unless we can guarantee that something actually will occur upon the execution of the commission.
Thank you. Okay, so I have an amendment for the commission side, cleaning up the language to what it needed to be. If we decide to move forward with section 2, it doesn't sound like most of the subcommittee is in favor of that, from what people have said. But in case that is the case, we had to change the effective date. We needed to change slightly the composition of the commission. So I do have an amendment that fixes that language. If we do decide to go in that direction, I guess at this point, having listened to what everyone has to say, I would make the motion. I'll have to get an amendment before our exec session if we were going to do this. But I would make a motion to keep part 1 in the bill and strike the commission, strike part 2 out of the bill, and try to come up with a separate solution to that. That would be my. I have a second. All right. I'll just call the roll. Representative Schmidt. Okay, Representative. Yeah, you've got until this afternoon, Representative Schmidt. Representative Davis.
Yeah, what you were just saying about passing the first part and
Striking the second.
yeah.
All right, Representative Gerhard. All right, so we got 4-0 on that. We'll bring that then to the executive session this afternoon and see how everybody else feels about it. All right, thank you, gentlemen. You have.
Because we have 2 more seconds.
Yes.
Are you going to bring another amendment?
So I have the amendment. So if the full exec session, if the full committee decides that they want to keep the commission, I have the language I have an amendment to clean up that language. So we can bring that amendment forward at that time, just so that it's all in order in case it goes forward. So, all right, you got half an hour. We'll see you in the other room. Thanks, guys.